You still what? Hello, comrades. Welcome to the For We Are Many podcast current event stream for the 3rd of June, 2022. I don't know why I said that like that, but 2022. We have a few things to talk about today.
There we go. Now I'm unmuted. I was saying it sounded like you were just running out of air there at the end of that sentence. Like, "Tooh."
It also looks like we have more. There's more captions options. We have a ticker now.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, right?
Pretty.
Yeah, so we're going to have to come up with cool things to put on the ticker. Hello, Wade. I'm sorry that you were still awaiting. We were having technical difficulties. We've been having technical difficulties the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure what's going on, but we're going to try to get it figured out. So we're going to be talking about the Starbucks unionization again today. Obviously, that's a recurring topic. The union votes started happening in March, I believe it was. And by the end of May, there was 102 unionized Starbucks locations and a total of 6 that did not succeed. That is a 0.18% fail rate. Or, I'm sorry, 1.8%. I put the decimal wrong in my head. But yeah, a 1.8% fail rate out of 108 elections is a pretty goddamn good track record.
Right.
The White Panther Party put out a press release yesterday talking about an event and an educational program taking place tomorrow in Chicago. We may make a mini series out of basically the videos and reading content. I guess it depends on what manpower looks like. I'm about to be moving, so I'm probably gonna have to take a week off at least. But that being said, look for it. It'll probably be happening.
Right. I'm still here.
Well, that's good.
Right.
So here is the stuff Emily put together on the Starbucks Union. I'm going to have a lot of sources to share, like in the comments. later on from this press release, which I am also sending you, Trisha. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about, so the other day, Chairman Zulu canceled his education class because he had something going on, and that was relating to working for the release of Dr. Mutulu Shakur. So we're going to be talking a little bit about him, what he's been going through since 1986, why we're trying to get him home, all that. Those are really the things that I have for this week, are those three things.
There was some other stuff I'd popped in Slack, but I'll need a moment to pull that stuff up too. Because my computer's being fucking ridiculous.
You had comparing the global rate of mass public shootings to the U.S.'s rate and comparing their changes over time. And then, for last week, you had stuff about Robb Elementary. But yeah, I didn't write anything out for your thing, or for that matter, the only thing that we actually wrote out was Starbucks, because the other stuff is, like the White Panther release. It's about one of the founders of the Young Lords, and we're gonna, watch a 20-minute video that's an interview with him for that segment. So, there wasn't really much to type out.
Right.
And then same thing for Dr. Mutulu Shakur. I just went to his website.
Yeah.
But there is also a donate link on his website. I will drop that in the chat right now, and I will also drop that when we actually get to talking about it. So do you want to start with your mass shooting piece, or do you want to start with the Starbucks Union?
Let's go Starbucks. Positive note.
Fair enough. So if Don were here, he would be reading this. Because he's Don Good News Hughes. Anyway. So just like a quick overview before we dive into the real information, we'll start with a few basic points. Starbucks workers have now unionized over 100 stores. Actually, the official count at the close of the month of May was 102. Over 60 of those stores voted to unionize in the month of May. So, over half. And then they have also set up a $1 million strike fund. So, $1 million, dude. That is a huge strike fund.
Right.
Huge. Also, I just realized that because my main account is banned from sharing links on Facebook, that the links did not post to Facebook.
God.
It's on YouTube and Twitch. Oh my fucking God. I'm going to put it as a caption, I guess.
Fuck. Oh, okay. My main one is in Facebook jail too, but my other one is not. Give me a moment and I will share this onto our page and group.
If somebody can type that out and put it back in the comments for me, I would greatly appreciate that.
Boy, of a fucking Facebook jail.
Yeah, I totally didn't even think about that. Anyway, sorry, Starbucks. Oh yeah, one of the cities that they successfully organized the union in is Greenville, South Carolina, which is supposedly the most anti-union city in the nation. So that's also very reassuring, I guess, is the best way to put it. Yeah. Anyway, so the latest union additions came after pro-unionization votes in Seattle, which is the HQ of the company is in Seattle, and Birmingham, Alabama. In Seattle, the Eastlake store employees won their vote in a landslide 12-0 vote, while the Union Station store voted 6-3 in favor of the union. A day earlier, the Birmingham store became Alabama's first unionized Starbucks after a 27-1 vote. Kadarius Perkin, a shift supervisor at the Birmingham store, declared after the vote, "Our voices will be heard." Starbucks has until later this week to file any objections with the National Labor Relations Board. Workers at hundreds of Starbucks stores have filed to for a successful union drive in Buffalo, New York late last year. So this wave of elections pretty much though started in March. And we're using a little bit outdated data here because at that point there had only been 73 successful union votes. But at that time there was 237 ongoing. So, I mean, this wave is far from over. They're not even halfway through the elections, just for the ones that have filed. And new locations are filing all the time.
By the way, I'm not sure why it shows it as being X'd out on here, but it is airing live on Facebook. I didn't even have to share the YouTube link on there. It was already going.
No, that's not the link I meant. The MutuluShakur.com link that's on the screen is the link I meant.
Oh. Well, you said we weren't on Facebook, so
the comment, because I'm banned from commenting, did not go to Facebook.
Sure. Don't mind me. I'm fucking sick and I've fucking brain. Not all of it fucking registered. I was just like, oh shit. Let's make sure this is at least viewable. Yeah, no.
Yeah, for sure.
Got you. Okay.
That's why I just put it up here. But yeah, we are live on Facebook, both on our own and on Left Signal Boost TV. We are on YouTube and Twitch. I need to go through and reconnect Twitter. What was the other one? I don't know. I had to recertify Twitter a while ago, and I forgot to do it until I just saw that it wasn't on this list. Thank you, Wade and Natalie, for posting it out to groups. That helps. All right. Sorry. Back to what I was saying. Workers at hundreds of Starbucks stores, at least 200 more, have filed to unionize since the first successful drive in Buffalo late last year. Matt Brunig, founder of People's Policy Project, which was one of the sources that Emily used to compile this. They're an independent political media. Anyway, he said, a trickle of election filings is built into a wave, and Starbucks workers are winning in location after location. He analyzed data from the National Labor Relations Board. That's why it's behind, because, the government does everything slow. And wrote an op-ed to Jacobin that slated that out of 89 union elections that had taken place at Starbucks, the union prevailed in 77 locations. But some of those had issues. Some of those were withdrawn. And a lot of the ones that were withdrawn were refiled. It was due to clerical errors, things like that. So that number is even older than the number that I gave you earlier. There has been 6 that actually failed. There was 12 that were withdrawn. As far as I'm aware, all of those have refiled. Those wins, he noted, came despite a fierce campaign against the union, prompting a torrent of unfair labor practice charges against the company. So I want to just interject a little bit there, right, to say that before this unionization wave really became a wave, Starbucks really beefed up their benefits package. They started paying better to try to avoid getting a union, right? And then they, after that, sunk millions of dollars into campaigns to have, 1.8% fail rate in the elections. I mean, dude. I guess it's giving me hope that no matter how much money capital has, that the working class still has the power to come out on top, even in this capitalist hellscape.
Right.
That's
what happens when you work together. Just saying.
Yep. John Logan, who is a professor and director of labor and employment studies at San Francisco State University, describes Starbucks as worthy of the title, quote, worst worker rights violator. So, over Amazon, over Walmart, I'm just saying.
Right.
Contributing to the, quote, union-busting lawlessness is the company's firing of over 20 union activists, an announcement of a benefit increase to stores that have not unionized, which, by the way, in and of itself, unfair labor practice. The only reason that kind of squeezes by is because after the union vote comes the actual negotiations of your pay and benefits.
Right.
So, they're trying to say, oh, hey, we'll give you an even better benefits package if you don't unionize. So, they're still going to play dirty for the rest of the fight, but the workers aren't giving up.
Right. They're just showing that they're fucking scared of actually having to pay more and give even better benefits than what the fuck they're offering at those stores that didn't unionize.
It's not too often anymore that we talk about Senator Bernie Sanders, right? But this is one of the things that he has not wavered on in his 40-something year political career. Not only that, he has previously boosted unionization efforts at Starbucks. And he told Schultz, that's the CEO, as he resumed his position this year, quote, if Starbucks can afford to spend $20 billion on stock buybacks and dividends and provide a $20 million compensation package to its CEO, it can afford a unionized workforce that can collectively bargain for better wages, benefits, safer working conditions, and a reliable schedule. Why is that even something that has to be negotiated? Right. All these places bitch about not being able to find workers. Well, no fucking shit. You're trying to pay them fucking $11 an hour for fucking 20 hours a week that's somehow spread over 5 or 6 days. Come on.
Right. Taking up too much of their time where they can't even get another fucking job and fucking just robbing them blind with that level of wage. That's ridiculous.
Right. And I mean, obviously, it's been a while since Starbucks specifically has offered $11 an hour, but look around you. Almost all those places that are posting nobody wants to work shit, go in there, right? Apply for a job and see what they offer you, if they even tell you before you start.
Right. Right. So that's the thing. They try to hide that information, but also, if you do bother to fill out, if there even is on their application a part to say what went, good fucking luck if you tell them a realistic number you could live off of.
Yep, they'll either call you in for an interview and completely ignore that, or they just won't call you. That's the reality of it. In his letter to the billionaire executive, he also wrote, "Please respect the Constitution of the United States and do not illegally hamper the efforts of your employees to unionize." So unionization is not explicitly protected by the Constitution. It is protected by statute. But frankly, I don't give a shit what those slave owners wrote on that parchment. All right. Once upon a time, I had a lot of respect for the Constitution because I thought that it was actually a revolutionary document. But
it's not.
Look at who wrote it, look at who benefited from it, and look at who still benefits from it.
Right. They didn't have to even add the asterisk fine print. This is selectively applied to wealthy white males who own land. It was just presumed at the time of like, oh, that's who we mean. And that's who they still mean by it.
Right. He also tweeted, "I say to Howard Schultz, stop the union busting, obey the law, negotiate a fair contract with your workers now. No more delays. Enough is enough." So, you know how in that last chunk right there, we just talked about the company firing over 20 union activists. So, needless to say, the workers expect that kind of behavior to continue. And they have successfully put together a $1 million strike fund immediately following their 100th win. So, I mean, you know, it's just boom, boom, boom. Fuck you, Starbucks. We've had enough. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, Workers United said the initial contribution is seed money, and the American Federation of Teachers already donated $50,000 towards that, just in support of the Starbucks union workers. That's pretty.
That's fucking solidarity,
right? For fucking real. That's just beautiful to see. You know, the National Labor Relations Board regional office in Buffalo, New York, has already charged Starbucks with over 200 labor law violations too.
And this is just starting. Like, in the grand scheme of things, this is just starting.
Right. It could be years before Starbucks faces any of those consequences for the union busting. The strikes, however, are making some immediate impact. I love to see that. John Logan, the guy you were talking about a moment ago, said that strikes against unfair labor practices and poor working conditions started in Buffalo, but it's escalated significantly in the last few weeks with at least 7 strikes in May. Those are Seattle, Portland, Boston, Leesburg, Virginia, Columbia, South Carolina, Overland Park, Kansas, and Buffalo. Those were the longest ones.
Yeah, lasting 5 days in Overland Park, Kansas, and Buffalo, New York. But I just wanted to, like, Seattle, Portland, Boston, you kind of expect those, right? Virginia is a right-to-work state.
Right. Right.
South Carolina is also a right-to-work state. South Carolina is one of the most anti-union states in the nation, if not the most. Like, seriously, these are huge victories. I don't care how the media tries to paint it over the next month. The fact that that strikes took place in right-to-work states itself is impressive. They're not backing down. And they shouldn't.
Or should they? No, this should just further inspire more people to unionize, whether they're in a union-friendly state or not. Because fuck that right-to-work bullshit. What they really mean is right to work for less and with less benefits, and your right to basically get bent over and fucked by your fucking employer. I hate those right-to-work laws. They really screwed everybody. The only people they benefit are the ones that own these massive corporations who just want to keep exploiting your labor as much as fucking possible.
Natalie's exactly right. Many southern states are right to work.
Right.
Actually, like, show of hands in the comments. Who lives in a right to work state? Because I know I do. right now anyway. I don't think Rhode Island is a right to work state, but Arizona sure as fuck is. I guess we're not getting any hands. Oh well, carrying on. Awkward. The strike fund obviously will lessen the fear that workers experience when organizing. If you had any idea how many times I've brought up unions in workplaces and people are afraid to even fucking say the word union? Like, that's how deep this shit runs. So a strike fund kind of eases that, right? Because, like, oh my God, well, even if I somehow get fired, I can, collect a paycheck. I can still pay my bills. Is it going to be a ridiculous amount? No. Obviously, strike pay is going to be like $150 a week. Well, I mean, it's.
It could be more than that. That's what the minimum is. Like,
well, yeah.
For members, you know, but it'll at least help you keep some fucking food in your belly.
Right. I'm not sure. Kyla Clay, a Starbucks barista and organizer in Boston, said, quote, "I'm really excited for partners who will be joining us at the bargaining table knowing they can hold Starbucks accountable and not fear the loss of their job or livelihood." That's exactly what I was just saying. Only, more concise.
Right.
Mine was definitely more rambly. So strike benefits are generally determined by a vote of union membership and are related to median worker pay. So, for example, we just talked about Teamster minimums of $150 a week. But according to a monthly analysis of National Labor Relations Board, records published by the People's Policy Project, Starbucks Workers United has organized about 2,800 workers in 102 shops. Stretch across those workers, the initial $1 million would yield about $355 a worker. It's not a lot, but it's something.
Right. It would at least, kind of cover your ass for a week of striking to get shit rolling,
Right. And I mean, they seem to be taking a tactic of short strikes, like a day. So that being said, like, say 102 unionized stores decide to strike on the same day, Starbucks is going to feel that. And then, a couple of weeks later, they do it again. Starbucks is going to feel that.
Right. That's a lot of sales they're not getting,
Right.
And doing it in that manner, it's not like they can anticipate and fucking, bring other people in to try to keep the store open for the day. Good fucking luck to them.
Right. Remember when John Deere fucking tried to do that?
Yeah, those fucking morons were crashing shit in the shop left and right. Like, we don't know how to drive this. No shit, pencil pusher. Like, try to tell the employees that their fucking labor isn't fucking respected again. See what happens. Hurt yourself and your equipment some more, dumbasses. It's fucking ridiculous.
Wendy said I'm in Utah, so yep. Wade and Natalie are not in right to work states. Must be nice.
Wow, I'm really surprised that Texas isn't.
I thought Texas was, to be honest, but I haven't really looked into it. I've never lived in Texas or had even a fleeting desire to live in Texas.
Right. I didn't even have a fleeting desire to drive through Texas, but I'm thankful I at least went through the panhandle part and got the fuck out of there as quickly as possible.
And that shit's still like a fucking 6-hour drive.
I know. Especially driving a house on wheels.
Yeah.
Kind of slow. But, boy, was I happy to see the New Mexico border.
Oh, I bet. According to National Labor Relations Board records, at least 150 stores are set to vote in the coming months, raising the possibility of more short strikes against Starbucks as Workers United organizers look towards a first contract. And really, that's going to be the make it or break it moment for that union. I mean, if a union can't negotiate, it's not very effective.
Yeah.
But I mean, that being said, the numbers that these elections are being won by, dude.
Right. That's a lot of people going, no, fuck this shit. We want to actually have a say over, our compensation, our total compensation for doing this fucking work. It's not just about wages, it's also about those benefits. It's about being able to take sick days without being penalized and fucking going broke for it. Basic protections that should be there. Makes me think of that meme earlier in our group chat. I think it might have been Nathan that put it there, possibly. Could have been Wade. But it was saying that in Europe they're like, I'm going to take the summer off because I need a suntan, and people in the United States are like, you're going to have to use one of my 3 sick days to go have open heart surgery. Like that. It's fucking pathetic how little benefits we actually have, how little protection against illness, any of those things. Unionizing is fucking important to that, to actually be able to gain some ground there and be treated like a fucking human being instead of just fucking chattel labor. Oh, hi, James. How's it going? Y'all all right over there? You're muted.
Sorry. I'm going to try to set up this chat relay bot that Zach was talking about in the comments. If you want to go ahead and, move on to the next part
Okay.
there, which is an impressive statistic by itself, right? That 60 union elections were won
Just in May
last
alone.
month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is snowballing so fast, and it's beautiful. Starting this month, Matt Brunig's policy project is going to publish a monthly Starbucks union report using the data from the NLRB and a more perfect union. It'll estimate it'll provide the best estimates, anyways, of where the unionization drive is at the moment and how much it has progressed in the last month compared to prior months. In May, the Starbucks union filed 67 unfair labor practice charges against Starbucks. And sorry, now shit's popping up on my fucking screen and blocking stuff. There we go. This is a likely indicator of widespread law breaking by the company as part of its anti-union campaign. Despite the company's anti-union campaign, the Starbucks union won 60 union elections last month, which increased the size of the union by around 1,473 workers. At the end of May, the Starbucks union had successfully organized 102 stores, covering 2,815 workers. Also in May, the Starbucks union filed for elections at 42 new Starbucks stores. About 88% of those elections that have been run have won, with each election victory adding an average of another 28 workers to the union. If these numbers hold going forward, then the 42 election filings in May will eventually yield an election victories covering 1,019 Starbucks workers. There's currently 162 open election filings where an election is yet to be run. If this success rate holds, these 162 will result in at least 142 union victories, covering an additional 3,931 workers over the next few months. Combining the results from the 102 elections that have already been run with the 142 projected victories, The likely current size of the Starbucks Union at 244 stores would be covering 6,746 workers. In Eugene, Oregon, they currently lead the pack with 7 unionized Starbucks locations. And give me a second here to see if I can get the site to pull up, because there's some charts and stuff here I can screen share with you. If it'll let me. There we go. Go to it. I'll get the screen share going here. There we go. All right. So here you can see on this chart right here that in March of this year, they were charged 43 times with unfair labor practice charges, 45 times in April, 67 times in May, for a current total of 182 strikes against their labor practices. In March, there was 4 election wins. In April, 35 election wins, and 60 in May. So you see where that's going, building exponentially. March, that included 122 workers that got unionized. In April, it was 1,005, and in May, another 1,473, for a total of 2,815. And as far as new filings for unionizing, there were 71 of them in March, 65 more in April, and 42 more in May, for a total of 291. Scroll here. This right here, this chart is the cumulative unfair labor practice charges filed against Starbucks just since this January. It's insane that anybody working there actually has to have, this many fucking complaints, that it's just, again, it's snowballing of people finally, speaking up and going, hey, fuck these unfair work practices. This isn't okay. And this is since last August. There you see, it's kind of a slow start there through January, but now it's exploding. So hopefully they get held fucking accountable, Here's the cumulative union wins since December. Excuse me, I have hiccups. Number of workers in the Starbucks union also exploding. And the cumulative percent of workers voting for the union in Starbucks elections since December 2021. There's a little bit of wavering there, but that's staying pretty steady between, 65 to 80% of the people voting, fuck yes, let's unionize. And here we have a nifty little map showing locations of these stores that organized. Chart here, there's 7 in Eugene, Oregon, 5 in Seattle, 5 in Portland, 4 in Philly, 4 in Pittsburgh, 4 in Richmond, Virginia, 3 in Denver, 3 in Ithaca, New York, 2 more each in Knoxville, Chicago, Cruz, Jacksonville, Boston, New York City, Buffalo, Rochester, and Mesa, Arizona, and individual ones in Birmingham, Alabama, Arizona, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Lakewood, California, Long Beach, Colorado Springs, Louisville, Colorado, Miami, Tallahassee, Augusta, Georgia, Peoria, Illinois, Overland, Kansas, Louisville, Kentucky. I don't know if this is pronounced Wabin or Wabin. I don't know. Massachusetts, Watertown, Massachusetts, Brighton, Brookline, and Alston, Maryland, Linthicum Heights, Maryland, Baltimore, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Independence, Missouri, Boone, North Carolina, Hamilton, New Jersey, Summit, New Jersey, Well Township, New Jersey, Latham, New York, Massapequa, New York, Brooklyn, Amherst, New York, Depew, New York, Hamburg, New York, Columbus, Ohio, and Cleveland, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Anderson, South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, Leesburg, Virginia, Newport News, Farmville, Falls Church, and Midlothian, all in Virginia as well. Everett, Washington, Olympia, Washington, Plover, Wisconsin, and Oak Creek, Wisconsin. So that's about it for all of our nifty little charts there to check out. If you want to share that, I'll go ahead and pop that in the comments too, so that way you guys can share that around. And thank you for the feedback, Zach. Yeah, I'll go on my phone.
How you doing?
Doing good. Just got done looking through all the charts on there showing everything nationwide.
Hell yeah.
Now that you're back, I'm gonna grab that link for that article so people have that source, and I'll hop in on my phone and pop that in the comments.
Right on. Yeah, then I guess we'll move into your thing. Do you have the link handy, or should I just send it in the chat here?
If you could send it in the chat, that might be easier.
Makes sense.
What I'm doing here.
All right, I have it pulled up for me, and there you go for you. We should really have a soundboard, right, and play the Jeopardy theme when we're transitioning subjects, because we're always sloppy at it.
Right. It's part of our awkward charm. Oh goodness. All right.
Oh man.
Just a second here. I'm hopping into Facebook to cite our source there from the People's Policy Project.
Oh man.
Oh, we needed that.
Something else that we're not going to talk about too deep this week that I still feel the need to address is Joe Biden and company's, recent heavy push for fucking draconian gun bans, I guess, to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
Calling 9mm high caliber weapons, and we have to fix the underlying cause, okay? Not just simply take away guns. That's not going to fix the underlying issues. Will it reduce shootings? Eventually, yeah. But that doesn't mean it's going to reduce violent crime.
Right. We can look to China for that one, because after they tried doing gun ban, then they had mass killings done with knives. People who want to shed blood are going to find a way to shed blood. You can turn your fucking vehicle into a weapon if you want. Are we going to start calling them assault vehicles?
I mean, dude, I'd be totally down with an assault vehicle.
I mean, it sounds fun, but,
we lost a viewer after I brought up guns. Shucks.
Well, I don't know what to tell you other than,
And it is a touchy subject, right? I'm not saying that we shouldn't do anything. Okay, I don't think anybody is saying that we shouldn't do anything. I just don't think that that is the way.
Right. That's never gonna fucking work. And oh my god, this is stupid. It. Sorry, guys. This Facebook's being fucking stupid again, and
Are you banned
actually
from commenting too?
on my Zen account, but on my Trisha account is where I'm logged in right now. And the reason why it blocked the fucking comment is because it stupidly put a space where I didn't put one, and thought that this was a project link instead of peoplesproject.org. And I don't know why it decided to do that dumb shit, but that's probably also my autocorrect. So now I get to type this fucking link back out again.
So, are we just planning on reading the abstract for this and then sharing the link? I wouldn't imagine that we're reading the whole paper.
We can just scan through there for the highlights and important shit. And there it did it again. Sorry. Trying to fix this fucking link so it'll actually share. Give me a moment. Yeah, we can just scroll through there for the highlights on that are important to point out, because this is a uniquely American problem as far as like the frequency of this type of shit. Like, I mean, you can live anywhere in the world and randomly have a fucking, you know, attack like that results in a large number of deaths. But this is very uniquely American, and only over the last few decades that we've just seen such a crazy rise in school shootings.
Well, I mean, that being said, we actually still stand very. This is kind of like debunking the thought that it's a uniquely American problem. However, it is using outdated data. So they're talking, 2013, 2015, 1998 to 2015. So
Shit.
it is outdated. And we have obviously had more shootings since then. Right?
We've had
But
like
they're
200
actually.
here.
I know, but they're talking about how at that time when the data was collected, we actually still ranked like 64th in the world, right? So it's not both, okay, 64th in the per capita frequency and 65th in the murder rate. The point is that globally violence has increased over this time, and the severity of mass shootings has also increased in that time frame around the world. So,
I must have popped the wrong one Slack then, because the link I meant to put in there had some updated stuff, including this year's. So that must have been the wrong damn one that I put in there. My apologies. Yeah, I see this is dated for teen. That's not the one I meant to pop in there, because it's increased exponentially since then.
well, yes, but I mean that still doesn't necessarily make it a uniquely American problem. It really isn't.
Mass public shootings in general, maybe not, but specifically like the high
To
rate of
schools and shit?
school.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was
Yeah.
referring to, of like having teenage kids going to school and shooting other kids. Um, we have an insanely larger amount of that happening here than most other places.
Well, yeah, and I mean Iraq and Afghanistan are both high on both lists.
Well,
But yeah, through 2015, the Northern Mariana Islands had the highest number of attacks per capita, and the Central African Republic had the highest number of people killed per capita. Whereas, the U.S. was 64th and 65th. But even back then, we had this narrative, right, that it was a uniquely American problem. And, I mean, Obama, at the climate conference in Paris, this just doesn't happen in other countries. Obama said, actually, like, they quoted Obama twice, 3 times, sorry, and Gavin Newsom, all saying it doesn't happen anywhere else. And,
Oh, it's not that it doesn't happen anywhere else. It's just that, like, specifically with school shootings, we have more here. I'm reading Natalie's comment. Yeah, honestly, even when it comes to the age, I would not be against raising the age of being able to, buy certain types of guns.
I mean,
Because,
in most states, you have to be 21 to purchase a handgun or, anything other than like a lever action or a pump action.
right, right. I would not be against, raising the age limit, to like 21 or something, or even 25, for fuck's sake. I mean, what the hell does an 18-year-old really need, you know, an AR-15 or anything else along those lines that, you know, they can just spray a crowd with? And like she said, unless it's for revolution, you know. But part of that problem is also in the military recruiting 18-year-olds into the fucking Army, the Air Force, all of that shit. So, you know, we definitely need to adjust things because at 18 years old, you don't have any fucking life experience and, probably not much in the wisdom or fucking emotional maturity sectors either. I don't see a reason for kids that young to be able to go purchase these. Like the kid that did that shooting in Texas literally bought 2 of them within a few days of turning 18 and had over $900 worth of fucking ammo. Where the fuck does he even get that kind of money? Because the rifles alone are expensive. You know?
Right.
I, and, to address shit even further, because, yeah, Natalie, you're right, the brain isn't developed all the way yet at 18 to 20 years old. We really need to end the exploitation of kids by the military. We need an
Yeah.
end to recruiting. End it. End it. No more recruiting. Especially when all they know how to do is go stalk the halls of high schools and colleges trying to appeal to people's poverty and fucking inability to access, college without going severely into debt. Like, fuck that. You shouldn't have to sign your life over and literally make yourself property of the government in order to get a socialized fucking education or health
Right.
care. Funny how that's the only way that's available to you in this fucking country.
Yeah. Yeah, no sure. Or no shit. No sure.
No, sure. I mean, idiocracy, we are.
Probably. Probably. So I guess I want to move into the discussion on Dr. Mutulu Shakur. And
Right.
I'm going to read initially a letter that was reposted in whole by Chairman Shaka Zulu of the New African Black Panther Party. So he said, "All power, morning affirmation. I'm reprinting this in whole, this urgent letter for Comrade Mutulu Shakur. He is on his deathbed. Let's get him released to his family so he can transition with dignity." Okay, so here's the letter. Quote, yesterday I received the sad update that my friend, brother, and comrade, Dr. Mutulu Shakur, is in hospice care, floating in and out of consciousness and being visited by family, close friends, and supporters. He has long been diagnosed with cancer, which is now stage 4. This letter doesn't say it. I forget what type of bone cancer, but it's a bone cancer. And the federal authorities are refusing to release him to his family so that he may transition peacefully at home. There has been a long struggle to attain his freedom, and it appears that the battle will only end when he joins the ancestors. His life and his work have been an inspiration to thousands of people, and I personally believe everything I've been able to accomplish since my freedom 12 years ago can be laid at his feet due to his mentorship, teaching, counseling, and friendship. He is a warrior, a revolutionary, father of Tupac and Baba to so many of us, African elder, historian, activist, healer, and lover of freedom and the African people. That was written by Rajandi Harrell. So I will put up the link to Dr. Shakur's own website, which is operated by his friends and comrades, friends, family, and comrades. And I guess the best part is to start with just like a little backstory, and then we'll move into the most recent update. Dr. Shakur received his 9th parole denial in January 2021. After being diagnosed with life-threatening bone cancer, yet denied compassionate release, his lawsuit against the U.S. Parole Commission and the Bureau of Prisons for unjust denials was expedited. We need your support as we pursue all avenues to improve Dr. Shakur's fate. There is a donate link directly on the website. Obviously, you can follow and share his stuff on social media to help spread the word. He's been a federal prisoner since 1986. That's longer than I've been alive. Just to, throw that out there. He has taken full. Sorry, what?
Just saying, I was only 4 at the time when he got locked up. It's
right.
Fucking unimaginable. It's an entire fucking lifetime, basically, that he's spent in there, almost 40 years.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
He has taken full responsibility for his actions, served as a force for good and anti-violence throughout his decades of incarceration, is an elder and has multiple health complications, has a loving family that needs him, and upon release will continue to inspire people to seek self-improvement through peaceful and constructive means, as he has done while incarcerated. I lost my spot. Shit. The acts of which Dr. Shakur was convinced some 30 years ago were committed in the context of a movement seeking equal opportunities for Black people who, it is widely conceded, were suffering catastrophically. Suffering catastrophically from disenfranchisement, segregation, poverty, and exclusion from many of the fundamental necessaries that make life worth living. Dr. Shakur participated in civil rights, Black liberation, and acupuncture healthcare, all as part of movements in the late 60s to the 1980s. It was a period of civil conflict in which millions of Americans participated in social movements for justice and freedom. In 1988, Dr. Shakur was convicted of RICO conspiracy, armed bank robbery, and bank robbery killings, and sentenced to 60 years in prison. At no time did the evidence show that he killed anyone. At 2 trials, the evidence indicated others were responsible for the deaths, one of which became a government witness in return for a sentencing deal. The remaining defendants were acquitted for the murder allegations presented by the government. At the time, Dr. Shakur was a well-known acupuncturist, using his skill to address rampant drug addiction among young Black people. He was a co-founder of the Republic of New Africa movement, participated in presentations to the United Nations on discrimination experienced by Black communities throughout the U.S., and by 1970 was the subject of the FBI's illegal COINTELPRO infiltration program, which hasn't gone away. They don't call it COINTELPRO anymore, but I guarantee that they're still infiltrating every social movement they can.
It's actually expanded where now they're allowed to use fake online identities to, infiltrate groups and, pretend to be comrades. Funding, they got around legal loophole. They've even fought Facebook because at first Facebook was like, well, wait a minute, no, we require people to actually use their real, and they were like, we don't give a fuck, we're gonna keep making fake accounts for our fucking pigs to do this.
He has accepted full responsibility for the acts that resulted in his conviction, and for many years has expressed the deepest remorse for those who lost their lives, and the families pleading that there is no justification for the loss of life for the victims. For over 25 years, Dr. Shakur has been a leading voice in the Black community, calling for peace, not the same thing. Police are the opposite of peace. Reconciliation, right, and healing for the countless lives lost in pursuit of basic justice and human rights. Dr. Shakur has, for many years, publicly suggested that a Truth and Reconciliation Commission of elected officials, faith-based and community activists and experts be convened to explore racial disparities and how to seriously address these issues through a peaceful alternative dispute mechanism utilizing democratic process. So, that's just, obviously, that is a short, introduction to kind of who he is. There is a lot more information about his life, his activism. Yeah. You can also write to him. The address is right on the main page, right under the donate link, actually. It says that Dr. Shakur appreciates mail. Actually, at this point, if he's fading in and out of consciousness, I don't know how able he is to read his mail. But it says right on the website that he is unable to respond personally to every letter and that his mail is limited to 5 single-sided pages per envelope. I don't know. It's, he's more or less been a political prisoner to begin with. He's seen the parole board 9 times, and they won't even grant him a compassionate release.
It's horrible.
They were asking... obviously, ask the president for a pardon or, to force the issue, and that's probably never going to happen. Good old Jim Crow Joe.
Right.
So, we're really counting on the courts to do the right thing. And that's also a crapshoot, but let's try to make it happen. So for the June 2022 health and legal update, this was posted yesterday. We are so grateful for the outpouring of love and support for Mutulu, and we want to update his friends and supporters with information from him himself and from the medical records. We understand that people want to share information on social media, but we respectfully ask that people share only information that Mutulu and his support team have consented to be shared publicly. Meaning, if you don't see it on this website, don't share that shit.
Right.
We learned last Friday that his health had taken a turn for the worst. The chemotherapy, drugs, and other medications that he is on are very strong and have side effects that can be difficult to manage, particularly within the confines of prison. His legal team is closely monitoring the medical records every week with the help of outside medical practitioners. So, at least his legal team is able to, get second opinions on things and, basically force the prison to do it right. Because if they're doing something wrong and the outside medical practitioners are vocal about it, they could find themselves in some hot water. The hospital where he's been receiving treatment for the last 2.5 years is already planning on starting a different form of cancer treatment, another kind of chemotherapy. Depending on his test results and whether he is strong enough, he may get a newer form of treatment that has a higher chance of succeeding, but which can also make him feel sicker. We want to get him home to his family, and Mutulu and his team are also still looking for treatments that will give him as much time as possible to spend with his family and friends. The legal team is actively pursuing all avenues for his immediate release, including compassionate release and parole. Please keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and stay tuned for further updates. So, Chairman Zulu canceled the class on Saturday to do work related to that. I don't know exactly what. But when I found out about it, I was kind of like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Of course the class came behind that. Like,
Right. This takes precedence. We can always pick the classes up next week.
and Chairman Jake's classes are on Wednesday. What time is it again?
4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central. Had to think for a minute. It's 1 p.m. out here when they start.
And I completely agree, Natalie. Bone cancer is a very painful cancer to have. It's an injustice to not give him compassionate release. It should have been approved years ago for him.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have let him out. He has as I understand it, he's got a clean record in prison. Why did they deny his parole? Oh, because he's an activist.
Right. That's the thing. Especially when all of the evidence points to him not even having been the one who shot and killed anybody in those bank robberies. Like, no, his sentence should have been lessened to merely like for the robbery itself, if he actually even.
Yeah, I mean, or even the conspiracy. He has owned up to everything that he did. Right, and he has now spent pushing 40 years in prison for it.
It's fucking ridiculous. Healthy
Yeah.
and thrown in prison for fucking the rest of their life. Yet we've got motherfuckers out here raping children and getting out in 10 to 15. You fucking kidding me? Fucking
Right.
kidding me.
Right. In the chat, I just sent a Google Drive link. This is to the White Panther press release that I think is probably going to be made a miniseries. But on Saturday, June 4th, the White Panther Party will be joining the new African Black Panther Party and our comrades in the Second Rainbow Coalition, as well as the local community in Chicago, to pay tribute and honor Cha-Cha Jimenez in an event sponsored by the Young Lords. Understanding that we are organizing a new generation of cadre, alongside supporters in the United Panther movement, the executive committee of the White Panther Party thought it would be helpful in building solidarity if we issued a short informational bulletin based upon the format used in our 8-week political education to Pantherism study course lessons. The purpose of this is to build solidarity and unity amongst the United Panther movement and our comrades in the Young Lords by making a conscious effort to educate our community about the enormous and continuing contributions made to the struggle for peace and justice made by the Young Lords. All power to the Young Lords. Puerto Rico lives in the hearts of all oppressed people. There are 4 videos and 4 reading things. I have a video that we're going to play. It's an interview with Cha-Cha. That's one of the 4. And there is a pamphlet that I'm going to be opening and reading as well, which is kind of... Actually, we can start with that. I was going to start with the video, but it makes more sense to start with the pamphlet.
I'm putting
Why?
the link in the comments so everyone has the press release.
Oh, well, this is a 13-page pamphlet. I thought it was shorter than that. I didn't realize it was like a, click onto the next thing. All right. Well, I will save that for our mini series then. That'll probably be the first one, to be honest. Yeah, all of you can access the link that Trisha just dropped in the chat. Actually, let me... she put it on Facebook. I'll put it on the other platforms because, I can not post to Facebook. Or I can not comment on Facebook.
Yeah. Gotta love that fun shit.
Yeah, it's the best. I'm sorry, what was I doing? Oh, yeah, I was setting up the video. That's what it was. Right here. So this is a 20-minute interview. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I really gotta say.
My name is Jose Cha-Cha Jimenez. I'm the founder of the Young Boys. Well, I think we can teach them from the lessons of how we began organizing and the trials and tribulations that go with that. A lot of people think it's just a fantasy trip. They don't understand that you get a lot of rejections. A lot of people don't want anything to do with you. They call you names like communists or terrorists or just a gang, just anything to offend you because they want to keep you away from them, especially if you're too pushy. And that's what happens with a lot of us when we try to, organize. We get a little too pushy in that. We learn from experience that the best type of organizing is to let people organize themselves. So, you're there as a guide. You're there exposing contradictions for people so that they can see for themselves what's going on. And eventually, after they see a lot of police brutality, a lot of displacement, gentrification, a lot of health conditions, a lot of people going to prison, prison abuse. Eventually, when they see a lot of that, is a quantity of that, it explodes and it's qualitative. I'm talking theory now, but it becomes, qualitative, and it means that people realize this is really happening. People are getting brutalized by the police, or and we need to do something about it. So it takes a lot of quantity and a lot of time to organize, but it's just a job. We look at it as like washing dishes or anything else. It's just a job that somebody has to do in terms of organizing. And once you learn the steps, the techniques that you learn to practice just by doing it, then you'll pick it up and it becomes easier. But it's just a job. I think the wonderful thing that your generation has is skills that we lack, opportunities, technical equipment, Facebook, the media, that you can use that to reach more people. But mainly skills of organizing and structuring and creating a foundation. You need to create a foundation that's long lasting. And you have our experience. This is a protracted struggle. We didn't start it, we're not going to finish it. We're just part of it, part of the journey. It's a journey. And we're part of that long lasting journey for change. Every day becomes a new day for change, you know, and we're part of that. And you can learn off of the past, off of our experience for the future. You know.
I'm just going to pause it real quick to say that I'm glad that we have his generation's experiences. You know, it's not just the Young Lords, it's the Black Panther Party, it's the White Panther Party, it's the Rainbow Coalition, and there's elders that are involved with the Second Rainbow Coalition. For example, Cha-Cha.
Right. Their guidance and experience is fucking priceless.
Right. Like, I mean, that's collective practical experience of, well, centuries at the end of the day. Anyway.
Well, you know, one of the biggest lessons that I learned is that you're going to lose your family because if you're too passionate about what you're doing. And so you need to find a happy medium of trying to teach your family what it is that you're doing and try to get them to comprehend it. Again, it's up to them to understand. But you're going to lose, they're going to lose a lot of good time from you because they're going to be in the field working to make change, and you need to recognize that as part of the job, part of the consequences of any job. Like anybody that works, you know, for a living to feed their family or whatever, they're away from their family. And the family has to learn and accept that, and you also have to learn and accept that so that you understand that you're here to work for the people, for them too. But it is, you know, depressing, and it's hard, it's difficult, because you're going to lose your family. Another difficult lesson is this is not, you know, you're not winning an Academy Award here. You know, you are actually fighting the system. That means you're the enemy of the status quo. That means the status quo is going to put you down. They're going to hurt you like did Martin Luther King and Gandhi and all these other people. They're going to go after you. They're going to discredit your name. You know, they're going to put you in jail. They're going to kill the best friends all around you and murder them. And you're going to feel that. They're going to harass you. They're not just going to surveillance you and watch you. They're going to actually harass you every single day. Try to make it look like you're crazy or something like that. Try to make it look like you're paranoid. They're going to do that. That's part of the lessons that we learn. And that's they have government programs to do that. You know, you're not, again, you're not there for an Academy Award. This is not a career job. This is something that you're doing because you love the people, because you love to fight for social justice. But you got to pay the consequences just like every leader did. Martin Luther King, Che Guevara, Emiliano Zapata, Fred Hampton, you know, Reverend Bruce Johnson and Eugenia Johnson from the Young Lords Church who were murdered. These were martyrs, and you're going to be a martyr, or you're going to be a victim of that repression that the state is going to come down heavy on you. So do not underestimate the role of the government. They're going to come after you if you're really fighting for the people. I don't know what to do differently. I mean, we dealt with the issues as they were at that time. Probably learn, you know, probably get more discipline, I think. You know, right now I'm not using, you know, I've been clean from drugs, alcohol, and all that. Probably gets more serious earlier, because I spent a lot of time doing that too, you know, coming out of gang and doing all that stuff. So probably leaving that alone earlier, I think would have been helpful, because that was a tool that they used against us too. They tried to make us relapse and do other things like that to discredit us. So, you know, I would try to stay away from that and to really be committed to the cause. You know, so that's what I would probably do different. Other than that, I think we did what we had to do at that time. Everything changes according to time, conditions, and place. And so now this is a different time than when we were around. We can't. It's not a template for today. What we did in the past. It's a lesson. So we have to adjust for today in a different way. Today we're doing things like archiving our material, like making videos, to help teach people in that way. We're still teaching people, but we're doing it in different forms. I did more demonstrations then. We need to continue demonstrations, but we need to archive, we need to use social media, whatever we can to get the message out. I guess that's what it is. We need to keep pace with technology.
Okay.
I think getting people involved in programs, getting them involved. You know, we kept getting people involved. They kept growing. You know, because they wanted to get involved. So the movement kept building. It's still building today. So you know, this event today here with the Panthers, you know, it's a show of unity, and there's more Latinos.
I should clarify. I should clarify. This event here today with the Panthers that he's talking about was the 50th anniversary celebration of the founding of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense in Oakland, California.
Fuck yeah.
Just to give a little context.
Involved and were involved in '69 that I've seen faces, a lot of Latino faces today with the Panthers, and that's so we're all united. People from AIM, the American Indian Movement, are here. Some hillbillies from Slim Coleman group and from the Rainbow, the Young Patriots are here. You know, so you know, poor whites and that are here. Some middle class whites are here. You know, some liberal whites are here. So there's a lot of show of force. African American community from various classes, middle class, you know, street folks that are here, and veterans of activists, you know, are here in big numbers. So that's you know, it's a different time, and that's what we need at this time. Well, I think we need to take the past, which was a mission of power to the people. A real simple mission that the Panthers came up with, and that the young warriors, you called it self-determination. In other words, and neighborhood empowerment. So that was our mission: self-determination and neighborhood empowerment for Puerto Rico, for all Latino nations of the world and oppressed nations of the world, and for communities. You know, it's the same thing as power to the people. And so we need to take that and improve on it, because that's like the principle that doesn't change. That's our mission. That's what we're fighting for. So we need to improve on it, and we need to use the platform and program as a tool, as a mechanism for organizing more and more people into the struggle. So we have an opportunity to organize, just like the police. The COINTELPRO program has an opportunity, because of computers and automation and all that, to really do surveillance on bigger, large numbers. We also have Facebook and social media and Twitter and all this other stuff where we can also organize large numbers, so we can continue to improve our struggle even more. We need to free Puerto Rico. That hasn't been free, and that's one of the major goals of the young lords. You know, we've been in denial of it being a colony, a direct colony of the United States, and we're here. That's why we're here, because we're trying to continue to build more networks of support within the United States. You know, we don't need one congressman. We need all the Congress people. You know what I'm saying? To be supportive of us, but we still need to organize ourselves in a fashion to fight, because we're dealing with a nation. This is not an urban renewal. This is a nation of Puerto Rico that they're taking from us, and we have to stand up. Nobody's going to stand up for us. So we're here creating those networks and this coalition and expanding that, and that's where we go from here. We go from expanding our base and getting more support for self-determination for Puerto Rico, and for controlling our barrios and neighborhood empowerment. You know, if we want to, there's nothing wrong with urban renewal. It just needs to be, we call it neighborhood control development. The neighborhood should control the development in that community, because if the people in the neighborhood control it, they're going to look for affordable housing. They're going to look to stabilize the neighborhood And that's going to prevent gangs and drugs. The reason that there's gangs and drugs is City Hall came in and destroyed the neighborhood. Neighborhoods that were united, they came and disunited them so that they can push them away from the lakefront and the downtown area. But they did it intentionally to kick us out of there. They didn't know that what they were doing was destroying a neighborhood. Or maybe they knew it and they didn't care. They were dislocating the people, the leaders, the great clan leaders. And that's what, it didn't create gangs because gangs always existed. What it did was it proliferated the gangs. It made them larger, it made them super gangs. And it pushed them into other poor areas. So that means it concentrated the poverty there. And so a small little street corner club becomes this drug cartel. And the city and the government are responsible for that. And they can't take that away, they can't blame that on poor people and our youth. Well, I mean, each city is a little different, but our culture always remains, that we always have our little threads and our little structure there that is just Puerto Rican, because even though we're in diaspora, there are 4 million Puerto Ricans in the United States and 4 million in Puerto Rico. Intentionally, they try to break up Puerto Rico, the same way they try to break up the Young Lords and Panthers and other groups. So they have tried to break out, and they have been successful, because 4 million of us are living in Puerto Rico and 4 million here. So here you have different communities, different barrios, in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and even San Diego, places like that. Even Hawaii has Puerto Ricans. So you have all these different barrios, and that's what the Young Lords were about, was organizing the barrios, was empowering the barrios, so empowering our communities. We didn't segregate us, the government segregated us, put us in low-income areas that were poor, rotten, and everything else. And so we're saying, okay, we're there, we're gonna organize where we're at, and we're gonna create community. And that's what our families did, and that's what the Young Lords have been working to do also. So that, I guess, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep the power to the people, or que viva el pueblo, like we say, pa'lante siempre pa'lante. This is all related to empowering our community. I want them to know that, number one, to honor your elders, to respect your elders. Like, this is what I learned growing up from my parents. And, we should be proud of the Young Lords. These are people that, against all odds, they fought back and developed communities. And then after they developed communities, they stood up for the community. They stood up for the people, and they included other people. They included their relatives, their families, their neighbors. In every school that teaches Latino studies, they talk about the Young Lords. Can you imagine that, talking about somebody that somebody else calls a gang? Because people don't realize that we were not a gang in 1968. We were a gang in 1959. But in 1968, we had decided not to be a gang anymore. And we united with the other adults, and we united with our children, and we united with students, and we united with faculty of universities. We united with priests and nuns. We united with professionals. So we were a movement, but they kept calling the entire movement a gang. And that's prejudice, that's racism, and we recognize that as such. But the Young Lords were not a gang. The Young Lords were the leadership of the Puerto Rican community and the other Latino communities and poor communities. These were leaders, they were not gangs, but that's what they so we want the people to respect the elders. If we don't respect ourselves, no one will respect us. So that's the first thing that we need to do. And then we need to utilize the skills that the Young Lords gave us of going door to door, organizing, of talking to families, of setting up programs like the health program, the health clinics, the Breakfast for Children program, feeding their younger generation, of working with the gangs to try to get them out of the gang. You know, those are lessons that we need that are very important. We're saying that there's a drug problem in our community. There is. We're saying that there's a gang problem in the community. There is. We didn't create that mess. But we're saying that we also went to try to make changes for these people. You know, so we didn't create it, but we went and tried to help our own people. And for that, we got persecuted. But I mean, they did that to any movement. They did it to the Christian church, the martyrs, the catacombs, the Christians in the catacombs that were eaten by the lions. So this is what happens in our movement. We knew that was going to happen to us. And that's what the young boys did. And the community, we need to respect each other. Well, we need to unite. We need to unite with the many to defeat the few. We have a nation that's being under attack right now. We're at war right now, and we have to defend Puerto Rico by all means. And so we need to understand that we're all unique, and we all have different perspectives, but we need to bring all those perspectives together. That's the only way we're going to be able to change Puerto Rico too. We need to use our friends that are not Puerto Ricans. We need to ask them to help us. We're fighting the most powerful army in the world, and we need to not underestimate that army. We need all the support that we can get from all over the world and from all of our people. So we got to forget that sectarianism where, if you don't believe in what I believe, you're wrong. No, if you don't believe in what I believe, you're right. We all have different beliefs. We all have different perspectives, and that's what Puerto Rico is. A nation of many perspectives and many viewpoints. And so we need to bring all those viewpoints together and those perspectives and stand up for our nation as a whole, as a united body. And then build unity with other movements so that we can support each other and they can support us. We're a direct colony of the United States. The youth have skills. We need to use those skills in the right way, for our people.
All right, so I just want to say that, wow, those subtitles were atrocious. But I tried because it was hard to hear him at points. And if it's hard for me with headphones, then I'm sure for those of you at home, it's probably even more difficult. I don't have anything else for tonight, though. Do you?
No, not that I can think of.
Right on. I guess we'll, do our usual plugging of Patreon. If you subscribe to our Patreon and stay subscribed to our Patreon, after 3 months, you will get a gift. And then after another 3 months, you will get another gift. So on and so forth till the year is up. It's a loyalty program. It's when we do launch our main merch line, this is going to be different. It's going to be exclusive to our patrons.
Right. There'll be other merch that's available for everyone, but the line that is for the patron rewards is absolutely exclusive.
And you don't have to do anything fancy. You don't have to rely on us to ship it. Patreon takes care of it. So,
yep.
Yeah. You probably missed, well, not probably, if you weren't at our movie watch party last week, then you missed that, but we will be doing another one next month. As always, we are taking suggestions, specifically from the patrons. Also, if you're a patron, you get early access to our Discord server. Some of you are already in there. Some of you are not. We're trying to build it out. Probably about the 1st of July, we'll start allowing other people to, allowing the patrons to invite people and, inviting a few more ourselves and kind of just let it grow organically from there. But we wanted to give our patrons a an exclusive foot in the door and get acquainted with each other and, you know, build connections before it got too crazy.
I believe there's one channel of that that's still dedicated to patrons only, too, within our Discord.
Yeah, so even after everybody else comes in to the Discord, there is still going to be an exclusive patron channel. Also, we are going to be doing our first ever, well, if you want to call it a Q&A, call it that. If you want to call it an AMA, call it that. I think it's a generational difference. But yeah, anyway, we're going to be
American Medical Association. You're like, no, ask me anything. And I'm like, Q&A?
Dude, I did the same thing, though. Dean always calls them AMAs, and I'm just like, isn't that a Q&A? But yeah, regardless of what you want to call it, we'll be doing our first one of those this month. I'm not sure exactly what date yet. It'll probably be on a weekend to try to make it as available as possible. Like we're going to be doing the movie watch parties on Saturday nights now, for example. So this will probably also be a Saturday night situation. Yeah, anyway, there's plenty to keep up on. If you would like to, if you have an opinion that you would like us to publish for you, there is a contact form on the website. Write an AMA or just email it to us for that matter, for we are many podcast at gmail.com. We are taking submissions for our, what did Dean title it? Dispatches from the Deep, which is basically our version of editorials. We will publish it. We may, publish a response to it. But yeah, that's all I got. If you have any questions for us to submit for the Q&A, you can also do that via email or the contact form on the website. I think that's all I have for tonight.
Pretty sure that wraps it up.
Right on. Well, I guess I should ask then. James, do you know what time it is?
Do you know where your children are?
Oh my God. Anyway, I hope all of you have a wonderful night. And see you next Friday. Well, I'll probably see you before next Friday, but at the very latest, see you next Friday.
All right.
And you're right, James. That's why I asked you, because you always know what time it is. Wait, isn't it a little late for lunch?
It's like dinner
All right.
time.
Anywho's it. Here's our sweet banging outro music.
Absolute freedom. And we're all looking for freedom. Didn't matter when they sold the devil guns. Didn't matter when they played us strike. Didn't matter when they stole your mother's son. Now everyone's out of their mind. Bullshit. These unemployment
imperfections. We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. Just don't worry about it. Learn how to use what